America's education system is often an embarrassment compared to other countries around the world because of the lack of skills that many of our students have. But the state of Oregon is concerned that school is still too difficult, so they just eliminated the need for high school graduates to know how to read, how to write, or how to do arithmetic.
For the next 5 years, high school students in Oregon will not need to perform proficiency tests showing mastery of reading, writing, or math in order to graduate. And this comes as the Oregon Board of Education unanimously voted to extend a pause on the graduation requirement yesterday until 2028. They're citing inefficiency and inequity. Joelle Jones going beyond the headlines tonight to find out what this pause will mean for students.
It was unanimous, so it wasn't even really up for debate. As soon as some Marxists proposed the idea, they all thought it sounded great. And notice she used the cultural Marxist buzzword equity, meaning there are too many Black and Hispanic students, the children of illegal aliens whose parents don't speak any English at all. And so they're not grasping the English language and falling behind and failing out. And so the school just decided to pass them anyway because that looks racist. We are living in idiocracy now when you can graduate high school without knowing how to read or write. 3 years ago now, San Diego, a border city, decided to change the grading system in order to combat racism. And so now the students can literally turn in their assignments late, pretty much whenever they want, and they don't get docked any points. I don't even think there's a time limit for how late it can be. So you can turn it in a day late, a week late, or a few months late. The San Diego Unified School District is overhauling the way it grades students. Board members say the changes are part of a larger effort to combat racism. This is part of our honest reckoning as a school district, says the vice president of the district, Richard Barrera. If we're going to actually be an anti-racist school district, we're going to have to confront practices like this, meaning just requiring students to turn in their assignments on time, that have gone on for years and years. Well, I would say probably for generations, probably actually since the beginning of time. According to data presented by the district, under the old grading system, teachers fail minority students more than white students. A lot more. Of course, it's the teacher's fault. It's not the student's fault. Certainly not the student's parents' fault or their lack of fathers in the home. It says here that 23% of the D's and F's went to Native American students. Hispanic students also got 23% of the D's and F's. Black students got 20%, and white students got 7%. And looky here, they actually capitalized the word white. So no passive-aggressive anti-whiteism from the NBC7 San Diego News website. Also a violation of the new AP standards. You may recall that after the George Floyd riots of 2020, the Associated Press announced that everybody needs to capitalize the word black when talking about black people and the black community. And actually, I agree with that because Hispanic is capitalized, Asian is often capitalized. But then people started noticing that they weren't capitalizing the word white. And so then they issued a statement that said they're not going to do it because, well, of course, they're anti-white. Of course, all this is detailed in the anti-whiteism chapter of my new book, which is coming out now in less than 2 weeks. Mark your calendars, Tuesday, November 7th. Sorry, no, you can't pre-order it. I'm still doing a surprise release, and I would post a picture of the cover art with the title obscured, but that would give away a little bit too much, so you're just going to have to stay tuned. And speaking of the systemic anti-whiteism that's been growing in the United States for about the last decade, since the insurgency of Black Lives Matter, remember in Ferguson, Michael Brown didn't do nothing? Well, in New York, public schools ended the gifted and talented programs because, well, you guessed it, there are too many white students in them. New York City will phase out its program for gifted and talented students that critics say favors whites and Asian American students while enrolling disproportionately few Black and Latino children in the nation's largest school system. And notice the anti-whiteism by them capitalizing Asian and Latino and Black, but not whites. There are numerous schools across the country that are concerned that because so many Black students get themselves into trouble so frequently that they think that it's racist, that the teachers must be just doling out the punishments unfairly because there can't possibly be any other explanation for it. This from Tacoma, Washington. School board passes disciplinary policy that considers race before punishing students. All right, Tyrone, you've gotten too many detentions this month for causing trouble. So, Johnny, it's your turn to go to detention this week. This one is by far the best. This is real, by the way. I thought this might be a parody when I first saw a screenshot of it floating around social media, but being your trusted media analyst, I fact-checked it and confirmed it directly from the source. This is a real article from a real local news station in Utah. Will weapon detectors at Salt Lake high schools disproportionately affect students of color? Well, you're asking a difficult question, and the answer to that question opens a gigantic can of worms that often gets people called racist. Oh, you're going to love my new book here. I got to dance around certain things, thread the needle very carefully, but in the book, well, that's a different story. And remember how like 10 years ago, there was a big push to have the police all wear body cameras, which is pretty much the standard now, probably in most parts of the country, in most cities, thinking that it was going to catch the police in the act of them committing police brutality against innocent black men who didn't do nothing. Well, the result is actually the exact opposite. It shows the terrible circumstances that the police have to face, being attacked and just treated like garbage. And so now there are concerns that the police body cameras can threaten the civil rights of black and brown men, new report says. Well, just showing what it is that they do and how they act when they think nobody's watching puts them in a bad light. And so that's violating their civil rights, they say. And there was a grave injustice committed by a popular wax museum over in Paris when they released the wax figurine of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is upset and wants it completely remade because his skin appears too white. Apparently he's like half black or half Samoan or 50-50, and since his entire identity is completely wrapped up in his own race, something that's completely forbidden for white people to do, something that's called white identity, something that you're not even supposed to talk about, so you just have to read about white identity in my new book. He is very upset that the figurine isn't dark enough. And speaking of celebrities, Amy Schumer, Sacha Baron Cohen, Chris Rock, Gwyneth Paltrow, Katy Perry, Bradley Cooper, Justin Timberlake, and more signed an open letter to President Obama calling for the release of all of the hostages in Gaza taken by Hamas. So have no fear, the celebrities are here, the war is over. But we're still facing numerous battles here at home, which is what my new book is about. Again, coming out Tuesday, November 7th, so mark your calendar. Actually, I guess there are numerous tie-ins with, especially with how the are often engaged in. But I can't get into too much of that here, so you're just going to have to read about it in the book. And I know you're going to love it, so stay tuned, because it's coming soon.